All right, today we're going to crack the code on human behavior. We're diving into a really cool framework that helps explain why people act the way they do so you can actually get your message across to, well, anyone. Let's jump in.
Okay, let me ask you something and be honest. Have you ever been sitting in a meeting or maybe at a family gathering and you just think to yourself, why is no one getting this? Am I the only one who sees it? It's that super frustrating feeling of just not being heard. Well, you are definitely not alone. And it turns out there's a pretty simple reason for it.
It all boils down to this one simple truth. What you say is almost never what the other person actually hears. See, communication isn't like downloading a file into someone's brain. It's way messier. The message you sent out gets twisted and turned around before it ever lands. So what's getting in the way?
And that brings us to our first big idea here. The thing is, it's not that people are actively trying to misunderstand you. There's something else going on, something invisible that messes with our messages.
Every single one of us has what you could call a mental filter. Think of it like a pair of colored sunglasses that you never take off. Every message you receive passes through that filter, and it gets shaded by your personality, your experiences, your beliefs. So here's the game changer. It's not about them being idiots. It's about you learning to speak a language that can get through their specific filter.
So how in the world do you do that? Well, thankfully, there's a simple but really powerful system that helps us make sense of these different filters. It breaks down all of human behavior into just 4 basic personality types, each with its own color.
And here it is, the 4-color code. You've got red for dominant types, yellow for inspiring ones, green for stable, and blue for analytical. Now take a look at the size of that green slice. It's huge, right? The majority of the population is green, and once you realize that, so much starts to make sense. It's why big companies are so slow to change, why family traditions are so powerful, and why "we've always done it this way" is such a common phrase. For most of us, stability is the default setting.
All right, let's break these down. We're going to start with the more extroverted, action-oriented half of the group, the reds and the yellows. These are the people who are always making things happen, just in very, very different ways.
First up, the reds. Oh, you know a red. They're the ones who walk into a room and just kind of take over. They're obsessed with winning. They move 1,000,000 miles an hour, and they just want to get things done. They are the drivers.
See, at their core, reds are all about the task. They care about getting results, not so much about feelings or relationships along the way. They're super confident, they love a good challenge, but, and this is a big but, that strong ego means they can be really impatient. They are not afraid to stir up a little conflict if it helps them reach the finish line.
So, how do you talk to a red? It's actually pretty simple. You skip the small talk, get straight to the point, focus on the end goal, and whatever you do, be confident. They respect strength. Wasting their time with fluff or seeming wishy-washy is the fastest way to get on their bad side.
Okay, now let's do a complete 180 and talk about a totally different kind of energy, the yellow personality. If reds are the drivers, yellows are the life of the party. They're the storytellers, the creative brainstormers, the social butterflies of the world. Unlike reds who focus on tasks, yellows are all about relationships. They're funny, optimistic, and always have a million new ideas. They absolutely love to talk and keep the energy positive. The challenge? They get bored with details really fast, can struggle with focus, and they really, really hate negative feedback. For a yellow, if it's not fun, it's not worth doing. So to really connect with the yellow, you have to bring that positive energy. Be friendly, smile, and just let them talk. Give them space to share all their wild ideas. Don't you dare bog them down with a boring spreadsheet or a super serious tone. Just make it fun and social, and you'll have their undivided attention.
All right, we've talked about the movers and shakers. Now let's shift gears to the other side of the spectrum, the thinkers. These are the more reserved, stability-focused personalities, the greens and the blues.
And we're going to start with the big one. Remember that giant slice from the chart? This is them. The green personality is the absolute bedrock of any team or family. They aren't looking for excitement. They crave stability, predictability, and security more than anything.
Greens are hands down the most loyal and dependable people you'll ever meet. They are fantastic listeners who would much rather blend into the background than be the center of attention. But because they hate risk so much, they can become completely paralyzed when forced to make a decision under pressure. To a green, change is the enemy.
Communicating with a green is all about patience and reassurance. The golden rule is no surprises. Don't spring things on them. Give them clear, step-by-step instructions and a predictable pace. If you can make them feel secure, they will be the most reliable ally you could ever ask for.
And finally, we have the blues. Now, here's an easy way to think about it. If greens are all about emotional stability, blues are all about factual stability. They are the analysts, the perfectionists, the ones who make sure every little detail is right.
Blues live in a world of data, logic, and facts. They are incredibly systematic, organized, and they have an almost scary memory for minor details. Because they're perfectionists, you know their work will always be high quality. The only hiccup is that sometimes they get so lost in the details that they struggle to decide when something is simply good enough to be done.
All right, here's the playbook for talking to a blue. And rule number 1 is absolutely non-negotiable. Do your homework. They couldn't care less about social charm. They want facts and data, so come prepared. Give them time and space to analyze everything and don't rush them. For a blue, the quality of the information is the entire conversation. So, we've covered red, yellow, green, and blue. But now we're at the most important part of this whole explainer. Because the goal here is not just to slap labels on people and stick them in a box. Look, there is no best color, and in reality, most of us are a blend of at least 2 of these. The real power, the real secret here isn't about figuring out what color someone else is. It's about understanding them so that you can adapt your style. It's about being a communication chameleon, meeting people where they are. So what do you do with all this? It really comes down to a simple 3-step action plan. First, get honest with yourself. What's your primary color? Second, start people watching. Just observe and try to recognize the dominant colors in the people around you. And third, the most crucial step, consciously adapt your approach to better match their style. You know, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a practical, real-world tool. When you change how you communicate, you can literally transform your relationships, your career, and cut out so much unnecessary conflict from your life. So the only question left is, now that you have the code, who are you going to understand first?